Hey everybody, how you doing? Yeah, that went about as we expected. Welcome to the PHLY Flyers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Match. Joining me for postgame is Flyperbole himself, Steve Jaco. Steve, they really tried, you know.
They tried, and that's
they,
about all you can say.
they
Because,
kept it, yeah,
it's one of those things. Like, it's a superior opponent. It's just that simple. It's, I think of the great Michael Bluth, who said, opens up the fridge, sees a dead dove, and says, "I certainly didn't know what to expect there." When he opens the bag,
yeah,
and that's what it was here. This is exactly what we expected. It was just a bad matchup for the Flyers, and hey, through two, they made it interesting. Okay, through two, we're like, all right, they might have a chance, and then Carolina just went full Carolina on them. Like, that's just what that team does.
yeah. It was a close game for a lot of it. It's 1-1 through 40 minutes. The shots through 40 minutes, like, it was actually kind of close. Flyers had some early power plays and stuff that helped them out a bit. But in the end, Carolina just absolutely dominates that third period. They score a minute 3 in and then get another one at 6:02, another one 55 seconds later, and all of a sudden it's 4-1. And that was that, really. It was
the key.
just domination of the third period. And it's very much what we expect. You know, the last time the Flyers played the Canes, I said in pregame, final 40 minutes of the game, Flyers got 6 shots. They had 3 in each period. Tonight, it was basically the same thing. Just kind of dominated by a team that is superior. Now, I will say, along with the score being close and the shot total actually being kind of close, at least for the first half of this game, Flyers did flub some opportunities. 0 for 3 on the power play. And just a lot of chances, Steve. And that's why I want to start. Why? So last game against Carolina, which is, I think, 15. Yeah, today's the 20th. It's 15 days ago. They should remember it. Same goalie in net, Piotr Kochetkov, gives up 4 goals on 16 shots. Might want to try to get to him. You know, maybe just get some shots on him. Tonight, Ryan Poehling, who hasn't scored since, I think, April 9th of last season, gets his first of the year. Maybe shoot more.
Maybe just a little bit.
Now, I get it. Carolina is going to dominate possession pretty much every night. That is what they do. We talk about it whenever they come up. It's their thing. But for at least 30 minutes of this game, the Flyers were keeping pace possession-wise. They just weren't unloading shots the way they needed to. Overpassing way too much, missing the net. We know that's a thing of theirs. But I hate to agree with, most of the people in the Wells Fargo Center. But shoot!
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you think they would have learned one thing from michkov at this point, and that's, like, just get the puck on net, man, and good things will happen. And it's just so frustrating because, look, we know they're not a great team. Okay. They might not even be a good team, but they're capable of being at least a good team most nights. And when you're playing an opponent like Carolina, you got to follow the old Wayne Gretzky adage and take every damn shot you can, because it's just lunacy not to. And it's just, they overthink things. It's such classic Flyers from the past, like 10 years, 15 years at this point, like, basically since Richards and Carter got traded out of town, the Flyers have just been the biggest overpassers in the game.
It really, it's absolutely insane. You just look at the forwards tonight. Michkov and Richard are the only guys with more than 1 shot on net. Among the defense, did anyone have more than 1 shot? Sanheim had 3, Risto had 2. So that's it. Sanheim, the defenseman, leads the way with 3 shots on goal. 3 guys had 2 shots, like Risto, who he's been more assertive, honestly. He looking kind of good out there.
I'll take whatever this Risto is over what we've had for his entire time as a Flyer up until now. Like, he at least does stuff now. He used to do nothing.
No, he just kind of used to be around. Like, they're paying him, I guess.
Rasmus Ristolainen smiling politely.
Just he voted when you see Congress and it's like they voted present. Like, that was man. I was
Risto.
here. I was here for attendance. I'll tell you that. It was like me in college. Like, I signed in. And then I left immediately. No, but like,
if anything, you were getting somebody to sign in for you.
Oh yeah, I didn't go. I was not present. But no, it was like Sanheim, the defenseman, 3 shots. Tony Dick, the call up, who's just here like for now. I guess we'll see what happens when dudes start to get healthy.
He's just having a cup of coffee.
Yeah, like other than Grans, who's an emergency, you got to believe he's the first one sent back. The way Andre was playing before the injury. And then Mish, it has a couple of shots. Like, that's it. Those are the only guys with more than 1 shot on goal. That's not enough. And like, again, were they going to win tonight? Probably no. Carolina always beats them. It's a pretty regular thing right now. I think that's like 7 in a row in Philly. I think Jim Jackson was saying during the broadcast. Like, it's a bad matchup, but you just could have made it a little easier on yourselves or made the box score look a little closer than it may have actually been. Because you did get an excellent effort. Speaking of box scores, Ivan Fedotov stops 33 of 37, it looks like, is the official number right now for an .892 save percentage. That number is not spectacular when you look at it. But he did everything he could to win this, to help them at least make this game competitive.
He's had a couple games like that now, because I'm thinking of the Ottawa game in particular, where
he was the best player.
He was the best player. And thankfully, the worst player on the ice was the opposing team's goaltender, because it was such an ugly game right there. And like Fedotov did everything he could. Did he look good doing it? Absolutely not. I mean, don't get me wrong. The blocker stack save looks pretty, but when you can't get up to save a puck on the other side of the net, it might be a problem, my guy.
Can we talk about that first? It's a 1-on-0, but down low. The dude is basically on the goal line, spin around backhand, and he's going pad stack. Puck comes around the other way. He's still on that far post. And
hasn't moved.
Somehow dives across to keep the puck out of the net. And that's to end the second period, basically. Astounding, unconventional, but pretty damn entertaining. I'll tell you that. If Charlie and I talk all the time, like little things that make watching all 82 games. Like when they signed Garnett Hathaway, he was like, listen, is this a move that makes sense for a rebuild? I don't know, but the guy does stuff. He'll make watching the games more interesting. And he certainly has. Give me more Ivan Fedotov. He is entertaining as hell for a team that doesn't do anything. Like, they don't really do a ton of stuff. He's constantly doing stuff.
He's doing stuff. Should he be doing any of that? I don't think so. But like at this point, I'm really convinced he either just needs to stay in butterfly the whole time, or maybe he just needs to stretch along the goal mouth and kind of just have his glove going like a drinky bird or something up above him.
He's basically the opposite of the windmill at mini golf.
I was going to say, he's like a mini golf course right there. You know,
like, you can go bar down. The windmill. You can go bar down, but you better time it. He might come through. But I got to say, considering what we started with Ivan Fedotov, these last 4 games, not only entertaining, but like he's been legitimately good. That first goal was very odd. A fluttering knuckle puck that looked like it got deflected, but didn't, and it just somehow eludes his glove. But
it's the first minute of the game too, which is like, you're not sharp. You haven't really done anything yet. So you get a weird one. Like, okay, I'll give you that one. The second one, all right. I think that was, which one was the one that he basically had it shot into his chest though and couldn't hold on to it? That was the only one that I held against him tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he's still going to have those to start the season. I wondered if there was something wrong with him medically because it looked as if like he had a hole in the middle of him. But
Swiss cheese man.
yeah, like legitimately, this is a little scary.
Yeah.
But he's holding it together the best you can expect from a rookie. I realize again he doesn't actually qualify as a rookie because he turns 29 like this week, or 20. He turns 28 this week, but it's his first year in the NHL. Today is what, his 10th game he's played in the NHL. He's holding it together about as well as you can expect for a team that's giving him very little help.
They're giving him very little help. And we were talking about this on the pregame, but just the style of play difference between the NHL and the KHL is pretty different. You know, it's pretty vast, the difference there. And that adjustment is not an easy one to make, especially when you're 6'8" and apparently think you could be Dominik Hasek out there.
It's when you look at that first goal, like Al Morganti at intermission is just like counting the dudes in front of him. He's like, I think there's too many men on the ice. Like, there's so many guys in that area that he had a lot of trouble tracking it. And I saw Lundqvist from the TNT broadcast I saw on Twitter, just kind of breaking it down. Like the hardest thing to keep track of the puck are like the flyby screens when it's not necessarily a guy stationed in front of you because you can figure out like how to look around him. It's when a dude is coming, left to right, and then suddenly you're over here, and then you have to move back over here to try to find the puck, and then it's on top of you. That seems like what happened on that one. But the third period was just a mess for the Flyers. They got absolutely freaking shelled in those first 7 minutes. They put up a graphic like a few minutes into the third, Steve, and it said shots this period, and it was 9-1. And then they took it down kind of quickly. I was like, oh, that can't be right. And then they came back to it like when they had a second on the broadcast, and it was like, no, actually it was. It's 10-1 now, and that was like 30 seconds ago. And it was they had like 13 attempts in the first 5 minutes of the period. It was insane. And you just look back, and again, I can't put it on Fedotov when I look at this team and go, I don't know, man, shoot the puck when you have the opportunity.
Right, exactly. Like, you're not helping him at all. And this guy needs every amount of help as he can get, because, like, as we said before, he started the season terrible, and the dog agrees. But he started the season absolutely horrible, and this is not a guy that, you'd really think you could rely upon, but he's doing everything he can out there. And when you have a team just shelling you out there and you're not doing anything down the other end, man, that's just rough. And there's such a disconcerting trend with this team as far as their preference towards like blocking shots and stuff. And it's very like old school, almost 90s mentality towards it. And I think at this point, the data has proven that the more time you spend in the offensive zone, not blocking shots, the better off you are. And I know this team aspires to be the Carolina Hurricanes, but the Carolina Hurricanes do that time in the offensive zone getting those shots. And I think, it almost in a way felt like a cat playing with a mouse, right? Like the first like 2 periods, like, all right, yeah, fine. And the third period, okay, yeah, let's show up to work now.
No, the third period, the Carolina approach in that third period very much felt like, one, they remembered the last time they played the Flyers and were like, we're so much better than them.
Oh, these guys suck.
We have to just put this away because it's ridiculous. And also, like, listen, this goalie is playing well, but is he good? I don't think so. No. Let's try to just kill him and see what happens. And the floodgates opened. But you mentioned how the Flyers kind of aspire to be the Hurricanes, and that's something I wanted to get into tonight, Steve. I saw Adam Kimmelman tweet this quote from Tortorella, and he talks about how they're playing the same style. That's who they aspire to be. It's the blueprint. And Charlie and I have talked about something similar, and I want to ask him when he comes on how he thinks they're doing and replicating it. I get the checking forward stuff, the having the two-way players, but man, the guys they have don't seem all that interested in putting up a ton of shots and taking advantage of all their opportunities.
They definitely don't, and it sucks because if they got guys like that, I'd be really a lot more enthralled on a nightly basis. And they still get these old school guys. They still, it's not as bad as it used to be. But look, Nick Delorier is still on the roster, and I know that was a Chuck Fletcher hire, but he's still here. Hathaway's fun, but like I wouldn't exactly call him like a modern hockey darling there. And you've got guys like Eric Johnson in there who he's doing what he can for a guy his age, but like, come on. And he's second pair tonight, or I think maybe he did whatever he was. It's too much. You just, man, it's kind of a bummer. I want them to be the Hurricanes really bad, and they might have some of the building blocks to get there, but they're nowhere close as it currently stands.
Like I see some stylistic comparables, but it's like at the end of the day, their thing is like speed forward and like, yeah, two-way centers, but two-way centers who can really skate like Sebastian Aho. And no,
our two-way center's broken.
Yeah, like they don't have anything close to that. It's just I think more than anything, like I don't care to dump on the rebuild tonight. I think they're moving at their own pace, and it's going to take a little longer. I think a lot of these veterans that are here, like Hathaway, like Sealer, are kind of like by re-signing them, it was a, without saying it, admission, oh, we're going to be doing this evaluating a lot longer, and so we want these guys around to kind of help with that, and it's going to be more than a quick turnaround. Like, that's what I've thought all along, and when you see tonight and just how vastly different these two teams are, 2 games in a row, 2 weeks apart, like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit.
It feels like they're playing different sports, frankly.
Yeah.
And I was kind of expecting that out of the Colorado game. The Colorado game was such a weird one where they came back at the end, which is what I was kind of hoping to see tonight, get a flurry of like late offense. But you're also talking about a team that doesn't really have much of a defense, and their goaltending's terrible, and the Flyers couldn't score on that all night, whereas like the Canes have fine goaltending, not great, and they have a really good defense. I mean, Jacob Slavin alone, let alone the fact that he's playing with Brent Burns, like
exactly.
And their system. I mean, Rob Brindamore's pretty much perfected that system at that point. Like, he's one of the go-to coaches in the NHL for a reason. He's just great. They were just outmatched entirely. I would love to be the Hurricanes, but it's going to take a few years.
It is. And it's crazy. It's been 25 years since Rod Brindamore was a Philadelphia Flyer.
Oh my God, I'm just melting.
I think Hartnell said that in pregame tonight, and I was like, no, 25.
I don't like
but
that.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I was like 11.
Too many. Yeah, I don't like to think about that too much, but it has been a while since Rod Brindamore was in the orange and black, and and he's been a coach for so long at this point too. It's his
7th year as a coach, which is wild.
Is he? He's got to be among the longest tenured, right?
Yeah, I think it's like him. I think John Cooper's number 1, and then maybe him and Jared Bednar.
Yeah,
it's got to be right.
He's
like every other coach lasts like 2 years tops.
You're right, exactly.
Torts
and then
might be like top 10.
That's the thing I was going to say. He's like top 10, and I remember Brindamore had a potential contract coming up, and we were all salivating at the mere thought. And of course, Carolina locked that down because they would have been just lambasted. Like, everybody would have made fun of them if they had not re-signed Rod the Bod.
It does very much seem like, I know it's the dream for many, many people. I wouldn't say like if they just came with him, like, we're going to pay you minimum wage, Rod. Like, I think he would move on.
Yeah,
but it kind of seems like the Jonesy thing, where Jonesy was like, no, I didn't really have like front office aspirations. I was cool being a media personality, but I want to do it for the Flyers.
Right.
It seems like Rod is like, nah, I just kind of want to be the Hurricanes guy. And I mean, it makes sense. Wore the C there, won a cup there. It makes a ton of sense that this is his home organization now, as much as it bums us out.
I know. It's been so long, and then Keith Primo replaced. There's a whole history there. Go read a book, kids.
All right, let me hit these ad reads real quick, and then we're going to bring in Charlie. First, I got to tell you about Glatt Hair Restoration. Glatt Hair Restoration is now under the direction of Dr. Morgenstern and the Morgenstern Medical Group, part of the Morgenstern Center. Glatt Hair Restoration under this new direction. You know, you think, okay, I've been listening to John Marks. I know it's effective, but is it still the same? It is. You get the same peerless approach to care, the same expert team, same unmatched Glatt system, same state-of-the-art location, and the same stellar results. Now under the direction of Dr. Morgenstern, a highly respected plastic surgeon, along with the entire team of exceptionally trained doctors that bring 30 plus years of industry experience, because hair restoration is what they do. And Glatt Hair can help during all stages of hair loss with leading edge treatments for prevention and restoration, including laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, topical oral medications, PRP and stem cell restoration, and hair restoration surgery. And each patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best course of treatment, because no one's hair is the same and no one is in the same stage of hair loss. Bald is now optional if you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself. Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started today. While we're here, I got to tell you about Bet365. Bet365, my bets didn't exactly come through tonight. Shane Gossesbear once again held off the board, but I have been gambling with Bet365 all season, and I think you should jump in. They are our presenting sponsor tonight for every post game this season. They are our presenting sponsor. We are proud to be brought to you by Bet365. So download the Bet365 app today. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get $150 million in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And now we bring on Philadelphia's number one hockey beat writer. It is Charlie O'Connor. Chuck, before we get started, I just need to know your thoughts on the game and the any comments that stood out from post-game availabilities.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, the fact that I'm here already tells you that it was pretty short, which I guess you could probably guess based on the way this game went. Yeah. Like, there isn't really a heck of a lot to analyze in this one, I would say. For 40 minutes, the Flyers, I don't think they were better than the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes were the better team through 40, but the Flyers hung with them. You know, they especially, I thought, you know, probably about, you know, maybe about 4 minutes into the first period, because those first few minutes not great. Then they started playing pretty well, and they pretty much played pretty well through the second period. They were hanging with them. They were losing the shot and chance battle, sure, but they were right there. They looked like they deserved to be on the same ice. And then Fedotov gives up a weak goal to start the second off of a not great sequence by Owen Tippett, and then the mistake floodgates just open up, and the Flyers they look. The Nick Seeler said after the game, you know, third period, we're back to looking disconnected. That was 100% true. They were looking disconnected again. Ryan Poehling makes a mistake, has a turnover. Like, they just start turning the puck over, and against the Hurricanes, you just can't. Like, they're going to kill you for it. And I mentioned that to Ryan Poehling after the game. I was like, you know, maybe there are some teams that you can, you know, have a 3-minute lapse and be okay. I'm guessing the Carolina is just one of those teams. He's like, absolutely. Yeah, Carolina, you know, if they're just too good. They're too good. And there are some teams that are just too good. And that's basically what happened here. The Flyers are very clearly an imperfect team. And they can't. I think Tortorella, whether it was today or yesterday, again, days aren't real. They all bleed together into one. But Tortorella essentially said something like, look, we're not good enough to have mistake-filled games and still win them. Like, if they're playing, the Flyers are playing their best game and the Canes are playing their best game, the Canes are going to win. Flyers will play them tough because they can be a tough team, but the Canes are going to win. That's just the reality of the situation. But when the Flyers start making mistakes, then they make it easy for teams like Colorado, for teams like Carolina. And that's what we saw over these last two games, that when the Flyers are playing tough and when they are avoiding the glaring back-breaking mistakes, they can do what they did in the first two periods. They can hang with them and then hope they get a bounce, and maybe you steal a point, maybe you steal two. But when they play like they did in the third, there's no chance. Like, that's why they end up, and I'm looking at the numbers right now, they end up getting, they lose the shot attempts battle 33-7 in the third period. Like, that's what happens when they're not playing the kind of structured game they need to play in order to survive. It's not like they just lose to teams like Carolina. They get obliterated. And they got obliterated in the third period. They showed in the first 40 that they can play a game where they don't get obliterated. And then they showed in third what happens when they lose that. They get killed. And they got killed in the third, and that's what happened.
Charlie, I got to know, what did you think of that Ivan Fedotov pad stack?
I mean, it was cool. You know, he's going to be a weird goalie to watch. I think we all just kind of have to accept that. Like, I think Kelly needs to be at the top of the list. Like, she just needs to accept that it's always going to look weird with Ivan Fedotov. Like, that's just him. He doesn't know how to play the goaltender position in a way that is, at least to North American eyes, normal. But in that second period, he made a lot of really big saves. He did. And it was ugly but effective. Then the first shot on goal in the third period, it was ugly and ineffective. And that's the concern with Fedotov, is when a goalie's game lacks the kind of soundness that clearly Fedotov's game just does not have and probably never did, he's always going to be prone to those types of goals. And look, I'm not saying that, you know, that he was bad in this game. I'm saying he was the reason why they lost. However, that was the goal that opened the floodgates. And you do wonder, like, if they get a save on that goal, does the mistake train start? Do they stabilize and then play a decent third and it's still a tight game going into the final 5 minutes? Maybe, but instead Fedotov gives up that goal and suddenly the floodgates open up and it's over within 5 minutes. Fedotov's gotten better. He's playing better. He did not play a bad game tonight. The two goals after that, I don't pin the blame on him at all on those two. But the first two, goal number one, he's doing his try to tippy toe over top of the screen thing again. Second goal was straight up terrible. And I think he looks like an NHL goalie now in terms of results overall, but he doesn't look like a good NHL goalie, if that makes sense. And I think that's kind of what I saw tonight.
Yeah, there's the real possibility that disconnectedness happens in the third period because they see a goal Fedotov gives up and they're like, oh, this guy's back.
I wondered about that.
But that said, in the first 40 minutes, Charlie, you tweeted at one point after the second period, like, the Flyers' low shot total is not a result of their lack of possession.
Yeah.
It's their inability to take advantage of the opportunities and the possession they do have. John Tortorella talked about this team using Carolina maybe as a model, and maybe that's more about franchise building and style of play down the line when they actually have pieces that match. But when I see this Flyers team flat out refuse to shoot against a goalie that they scored on 25% of their shots against 2 weeks ago, like, what do you make of that?
Well, I guess to start, I'll respond to your thing about, like, using the Canes as a model. I don't think they ever will want to use the Canes as a model in terms of shooting from everywhere. Like, that doesn't seem like that's a model that many teams want to follow. Carolina is unique in that way, where they just, they are, and I use this with love, they are Corsi merchants. They just shoot from anywhere. They rack up a ton of shot attempts. They don't care. Their viewpoint is, well, some of them are going to go in eventually. It's worked in the regular season so far. It hasn't worked in the playoffs to the point where they've won a cup. I do wonder if that's a flaw of theirs. I don't think the Flyers are ever going to do that. However, they could obviously shoot. They could obviously, when they're in shooting positions, and I'm not saying, like, you know, when they're at terrible angles or up at the point, whatever, there were so many times in the second period where they had pucks in close and they either missed the net or just didn't even get a shot attempt because they were trying to find the perfect pass. They were doing drop passes. They were, you know, moving it over to the complete other side of the ice. And John Tortorella, apparently, in between periods, Nick Seeler let this slip after the game. Tortorella mentioned that. That was one of the emphases in the second intermission was, we need to stop passing up on shooting opportunities. Now, they never really got a chance to fix that because then the whole floor fell out from under them, and it was, they just never had the puck because they were playing terribly in other ways. But at the very least, it does show that the coaching staff sees. They see what we see, and that there were so many chances in the second period. Like, the fact that they only had 4 shots on goal in the second period, that does not reflect how often they had the puck. They had the puck a lot. They had chances. It's just so many times they'd have dangerous puck possession for 20, 25 seconds and then get no shot on goal. And you're like, this doesn't feel right. It feels like the shot counter should be higher. Then third period, again, things just were terrible. I don't know if they were trying or not, but again, it's hard to get shots when you don't have the puck. I agree with you. I agree with you that they should shoot more. I don't think they should shoot as much as the Canes do. I don't think that is a good idea because I don't think that shooting strategy is actually a good one in general, but they should obviously shoot.
Yeah, and they don't. I just look at a team that, okay, we don't have a ton of skill. Like, Carolina actually has the skill to maybe shoot a little bit less. Like, the Flyers have to be a volume shooting team. It's what worked for them last year. And they didn't fire from all over like Carolina did. But they took a ton of shots. That just hasn't been the case regularly enough this year. And I think that's why we're seeing a big difference. Charlie, just some little things throughout the game, because you're right. There's not a ton to analyze here. Like, yeah, they played all right through 40 minutes, and then Carolina became, oh, yeah, right, we only have 4 losses this year. That team has 4 regulation wins. This shouldn't be that big of a deal, and it wasn't. But I want to start with the power play units. What the hell are they? Like, does the top unit have a center on it?
Honestly, for all the things I tried to analyze in this game,
I
really didn't analyze the power play that much other than it wasn't very good.
No,
they're trying new things. They clearly want to try to get Joel Farabee going, so they moved him up. I think that's part of maybe the issue because he's not doing. I think he had a rough game tonight. He's had some good games over this stretch. I thought he was rough tonight. Owen Tippett's been inconsistent all year. They're trying to get Tyson Forrester going, and he's had a couple goals over the last few games. So I think that was the reason why he was up on the top unit. Obviously, all of their puck-moving defensemen are injured, so that's why Travis Sanheim's on the top unit. Like, they're just kind of in a weird spot where I think they're trying to use that top unit as a way to get some guys going. That's probably the case with Farabee and Forrester. Obviously, it backfired tonight. It didn't work, but I don't know. Like, they probably should have scored a power play goal. Michkov whiffs on a shot right in front of the net. And Michkov had a not great game, and he's been mostly very good, extremely promising this year. This wasn't one of his better games. That's a goal where if he's playing his best hockey, that's a gimme. He pops that in, Flyers score, and they're off to the races, hopefully, for the rest of this game. He misses it, and I looked at a replay, like he just didn't get much on it. It was just a flub play.
No, he just bunted it. Yeah.
Just bunted it. Yeah. And I guess that happens. Ideally you want to see him finish on that, of course, but I don't know. Like, they're trying to get guys going. The power play hasn't been great. It's still been better than last year, so I'm not ready to bury the thing.
Oh, yeah.
But
the personnel, I'm pretty sure on the top unit was Sanheim, Michkov, Konechny, Farabee, and Forster.
Yeah.
And I just didn't name a center. And granted, they don't have any centers who belong on the power play, but you'd think you'd need one.
Is Morgan Frost ever going to get out of jail in that regard?
That is something I want to ask is Morgan Frost and the lineup as a whole. Like we see today, there are 4 injured players all day today. Andre not even on IR, but the other guys we've seen are practicing. York not wearing a non-contact jersey. It feels like this kind of game, this sort of loss is a good opportunity to just hit reset on all sorts of things. Like, do you believe that might be coming? Like maybe Morgan Frost, maybe Cam York, whatever. Like now we hit reset and start again.
I think this would be a good time to get Frost back in the lineup. Yeah. Especially because they're playing against a team in Colorado that should give him the space to do what he wants to do with the puck. Like Chicago's not a team that is going to be, did I say another team name?
You said Colorado, but that's okay.
Sorry, my head's spinning. There's been a lot of friggin' hockey over the last few weeks. Yeah, Chicago. They're playing Chicago on Saturday. They're not a very good team. They don't play very good defense. It's probably a good team to get Frost back in the lineup against because there will be space on the ice for him to make plays, and obviously that's his entire game. They've just lost 2 games. This is the time when you make some lineup changes. Now, as for the injured guys, Bill, I don't know.
I know.
They can only come back when they're cleared to play, and apparently they haven't yet been cleared to play. Like the fact that we got all day-to-day designations for all 4, was kind of a joke. Like, cool. Like we're all day-to-day, I guess, technically in this world. So Like, do you think that a couple of them are going to come back? At least one of them is going to come back for Saturday. Like, maybe that would certainly help. They certainly could use them, but in the end, that's a decision that's going to be made by the Flyers training staff. Now, Frost is a decision that's going to be made by the Flyers coaching staff, and to me, this is the perfect opportunity to get him back in against a not so great team in Chicago that doesn't play good defense, and hope that he can start to get it going. And then you could add him back onto the top power play unit. Then you have a center on that unit. But in the end, that's going to be up to John Tortorella. I don't know what he's going to do. He's John Tortorella.
Charlie, just something stupid that happened early in the game that I wanted your take on. Michkov appeared to kick Kochekov's water bottle.
Yeah, that was funny.
At a defenseman carrying the puck, though. Like, he was, like, receiving the pass, I believe, from Kochekov in the far corner. Should that be a penalty?
Well, I would think if the refs, I don't know the exact rules here. Bill, you can't do this where you ask me rule details out of the blue. If you're going to ask me rule clarification, you got to give me a chance to look at the rule book. But if I had to guess, I would guess that if the referee or the official deems that it was done intentionally and it also knocks the puck off the guy's stick, I would think that they could probably call delay a game if they really wanted to. I love the idea that Michkov is galaxy branding this whole thing and trying to use props to force turnovers. I do not know the exact rule.
I know, Charlie. It was honestly just something funny that happened, and like the Flyers didn't do anything in this game for me to ask you about. So, like, we talked about Fedotov's pad stack. Show's over.
It was funny.
I have you first,
Charlie. On the NHL rule book under guideline B subsection 12, could you please tell me? Like, yeah, obviously, is he taking notes from Scott Hartnell? Is that what's happening?
Honestly, that's what it reminded me of, was Hartnell's glove throw, and I know he did get a penalty for that, but like, that's his own equipment, and he can't argue he didn't do it intentionally. So it's just, I don't know. Anyway. Charlie, before we do stars, is there anything else you think is important to talk about from this one?
Well, I thought it was interesting. John Tortorella did. He did. He called out guys. It wasn't in a particularly vindictive way, but he noted he elaborated on Owen Tippett's mistake on the second goal against. He noted Ryan Paling's turnover on the fourth. He was asked about the fact that Scott Lawton was benched basically for like the entirety of the second period. He had the bad turnover on the first goal of the game coming out of the zone. And he elaborated on the fact with that, Lawton finishes with 8:25 in the game. And Torts straight up said, he's like, look, I need better from Scott Lawton. Scott Lawton is a leader on this team. And we spent all of our pregame meetings talking about not playing east-west, avoiding turnovers. And then on the first shift of the game, he goes east-west and has a turnover that ends up in the back of the net. He's like, I need our leaders to set the example. And he set the exact opposite example, based on what we talked about pregame. He's like, I felt like I had to pull back on his minutes. And then it wasn't the only mistake he made in the first period. So it was actually a relatively eye-opening short press conference from Tortorella, because he was pretty forthcoming and not like he was frustrated. They obviously lost the game, and this was a game that felt winnable after two periods, but he wasn't in one-word answer, John Tortorella. Scott Lawton after the game was in one-word answer, Scott Lawton, because he was obviously frustrated that, he didn't have a good game and then didn't get a lot of ice time. Fair. Tortorella was willing to elaborate on certain decisions and made it clear that Lawton in particular was somebody who he looks to set the tone in a positive way. And he felt like this game, Scott Lawton set the tone in a negative way and was willing to say that out loud.
I do think it's important, though, that he say things about Scott Lawton out loud in public, so that it gives a little more weight to everyone else he criticizes.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like, oh, yeah, Morgan Frost scratched again. Well, yeah, of course, the sun came up today. Why wouldn't, it's just that continues. But I feel his frustration. Like, I think it was last game where he had the "we just do so much dumb stuff" quote. And that was, you can't do that against a team that is this much better than you. And that's what happened tonight. All right, Charlie, let's wrap it up with your 3 stars of the game, beginning with star number 3.
Yeah, I got news for you. There aren't any Philadelphia Flyers in these 3 stars.
Hey,
Ryan Poehling
Ryan
gets the
Poehling.
only goal, and it wasn't really that good of a goal. That's a goal Kochetkov needs to stop.
Pretty
So
cool.
he's not a 3-star. Fedotov had a chance, and then he gives up the weak goal, so he's not a 3-star. I'm going to go 3rd star, Jordan Staal. It's funny when I watch Jordan Staal because I look at him as like, this is the role Sean Couturier should be playing.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that like, because the Flyers don't have centers, Sean Couturier has to play 1C and have everyone angry at him because he doesn't score like a 1C. Whereas Jordan Staal can be the 3C, drive play like crazy, chipping with some goals here and there, and everybody in Carolina loves him. Like, that would be ideal. And that's what Jordan Staal did tonight. He gets a goal. The Carolina Hurricanes outshoot the Flyers 11-1 in shots on goal when he's on the ice. Like, that's Sean Couturier right now. And it's unfortunate that Staal is in the perfect role for who he is now in Carolina, and Couturier has to get a bunch of people in my Twitter mentions yelling about how he's cooked. And it's like, he's not cooked. He's just back to being the guy he was in 2013, 2014, when he was driving play and not scoring as much as you felt like he should, given all the chances he had, and have a bunch of crazy people on Twitter yelling about it all the time. Like, he's just back to being that guy. Jordan Staal is that guy. And that guy is still a good player. It's just that Jordan Staal is in the role that Sean Couturier ideally would be in if the Flyers had better centers. Jordan Staal, strong game in that role, 3rd star of the game.
Charlie, how many 32-year-olds would kill to still be what they were at 22?
I would love it.
That's Sean
What a
Couturier.
dream.
That's Sean Couturier right there. All right, hit us with star number 2.
Star number 2, I'm going to go with Sebastian Aho. He scores the the big goal to give the Canes the lead that they never give up. Now, granted, I think Fedotov should have made that save. Hey, put the puck on net. That's something the Flyers weren't doing in the second period nearly enough. Aho puts the puck on net, knows he's facing a goalie who, he made all the saves in the second, but it didn't look particularly good how he was doing it. So, hey, toss a puck on net, see what happens, see if he still got it. He clearly didn't. Look, Aho's just a really good player. He finishes with a goal and an assist tonight. And, scores the big goal. He's 2nd star.
And finally, star number 1.
Yeah, star number 1 might be a little bit off the wall. He did get a goal tonight. I thought Jalen Chatfield was great in this game. I thought he popped. And he's really been a guy who has been huge for Carolina this season, because if you think about it, like, they lost Brett Pesce and they lost Brady Shea in the offseason. They replaced them with Shane Gostisbehere and Sean Walker, and they've done well, to be sure. But both those guys have basically made up the 3rd pair of the Canes this year. What the Canes did is they took their 3rd pair from last year, which was Chatfield and Orlov, and moved them up into the 2nd pair. And they're still killing it. And you saw like Orlov has a history of being a top 4 defenseman. He kind of underwhelmed a little bit last year. He's been a lot better this year. Chatfield is kind of a guy where, he was sort of in that 4-5 borderline. Tonight, he very much looked like a top 4 defenseman. He was really good, not just for that goal, but he was just good all around. I thought he made an impact on almost all of his shifts. He really impressed me, watching him up close in this one. And for that reason, he's my 1st star.
All right, Charlie, we will be back in studio tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Make sure everyone tunes in live for that. I am on a Z-Pack now. I haven't had much of my cough medicine yet because it's Prometh with codeine, so Ava hid it until after the show. Otherwise, There'd be no post-game. But I will be healthy enough to do the show in studio tomorrow, so make sure everyone tunes in at 4 o'clock for that. Until then, Charlie, thank you for joining us.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor, coming to us live from the Wells Fargo Center following the Flyers' 4-1 loss to those damn Carolina Hurricanes. And before we give you the final 15 or so minutes of the show, it's time to chill, baby. That's right, it's Coors Light time, because between work, social media, life, the world, whatever it is, it's no wonder we're all just kind of worked up all the time. And Coors Light celebrates rising above and choosing a chill mindset. Flyers probably could have been a little less chill on the ice tonight. That would have been nice. But, this team, they drive us nuts. It's what they do. Steve, you and I, we've been doing this a long time, both of us. Sometimes we just need to choose to chill, and there's no better way to chill than with an ice-cold Coors Light. So whether you're freaking out about the shots on goal, the goalies, the power play, you need to find the Blue Mountains in your fridge and enjoy a beer as cold as the Rockies, because when everything surrounding your favorite hockey team is on fire, sometimes you just got to chill. Make the most of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door, or find a store near you by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And while we're here, we want our teams chasing rings. Listen, it's probably going to be a little bit for our hockey team to be chasing a ring. The basketball team doesn't seem like that's going so well either. But baseball and football, they got a real chance, damn it. That's a lot of fun. You know what isn't fun? Chasing a ring yourself. Take it from somebody who's been in the business of trying to find a ring. It can be real stressful. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know about jewelry. You don't know if you're getting the right deal. You don't know if you can trust them. That's where Golden Nugget Jewelers comes in. So head down to the corner of 8th and Chestnut and head to the family-owned and operated Golden Nugget Jewelers. They've been in business since 1987, and if you're getting engaged, they have a wide assortment of rings and wedding bands to fit anyone's style, and you receive a personal and final cleaning and written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase. And that's not just wedding jewelry. You can find watches, necklaces, diamond bracelets, earrings, and much more. You deserve an expert, and you deserve the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Head over to goldennuggetjewelers.com to learn more. Now that we're through our sponsored segment of the show, I got to tell you, when teams try to get me excited about their...
Bill, there's a big storm.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Okay, there's a big storm coming, everybody.
You might have noticed I just had a big thunder. I just had a silent reaction to a huge thunder.
I did not hear any sort of storm, but there is apparently one coming.
No, I just heard. I'm sitting here and all of a sudden, I'm just like, oh, okay.
Okay.
The dog didn't enjoy it. The dog did not enjoy it.
I can't imagine he would have. When teams try to get me excited about their sponsorship opportunities, just kind of like, what are we doing here?
Oh my God. Dude, it was driving me nuts. And I didn't know about it beforehand, but I saw an Instagram ad from the team or a post from the team saying, hey, anybody driving a Chevy tonight gets to park for free. Excuse me? What? And then I saw the helmets, like, oh my, and Gritty's there with the helmets with JJ and Hartsey. And I'm like, all right, guys, I'm not getting excited about.
Like, good for you and all. Like, okay, more revenue for Comcast Spectacor. That's great. I just don't understand how, like, why am I supposed to have a reaction for this? Why is this something? If you have to point out your advertisement, first of all, like, not an effective advertisement.
Yeah. I don't think you had to point it out, though, because it has taken up most of the helmet.
Yeah, I just found that entire part of the broadcast odd.
It's not getting fans excited. It's not something.
No,
it's not for us. Like,
no.
Oh, great Chevy! I always wanted Chevy on the helmet.
Like, yeah, like okay. I don't
cool.
care. How does this impact me and watching this team as they struggle to get a shot off? Because
are Chevy going to drive me in a new first line center?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe driving in a new era of orange. We have kidnapped Nathan McKinnon in a Chevy.
Okay, I'm in for that. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah, it just annoyed me during the broadcast.
Dude, I was right there with you.
I prefer JJ most of the time. But I was a little excited for the TNT broadcast. I thought it was weird that it was blacked out locally.
I thought that was really weird too. And I was going to say that earlier.
Games always just national?
They are usually. And I'm with you because TNT does such a good job with the presentation. And you mentioned the Henrik Lundqvist analysis there. Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff I miss because Henrik Lundqvist is really freaking good. The whole crew there is good. Like they do a really good job. And I was bummed. Like TNT, I think, has done more to help hockey presentation than anything else nationally in the past like 20 years.
It's crazy because it's like TNT. It's like before pregame tonight, it was Man of Steel. You know, but
it's always like some comic book or action movie, yes, and then all of a sudden it's hockey time.
it's Star Wars or a comic book, something of that nature.
Always.
And then all of a sudden it's time for sports. But
and then as soon as sports end, you hear da 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 da. Like
I was a little like, oh, I kind of wanted to see, because that more than anything, like we're on during pregame, so you don't see that.
Yeah.
And during the game, I want JJ always, but I wanted the intermission reports. And there seems to be some good stuff on them today. Yeah.
If I could get JJ's play-by-play and then the TNT intermission report, I'd be golden.
Yeah, if it could be like the Apple broadcasts for baseball.
Oh, those are
where
great.
You can just choose your announcers. It's like, yes, I will take the Phillies radio broadcast right now. Absolutely.
I used to work for MLB TV, and part of the job was monitoring those feeds because they would have the alternate broadcast. And one of them was like stadium sounds only. And it was so cool to do that. Sometimes just hear literally the sounds of the game.
All right. Before we get to diehards, or excuse me, before we get to the super chats, that's the word I'm looking for. A couple of events on the calendar that you need to be aware of here at PHLY. The first one, this is coming up. It's Saturday, January 11th. It's the Sweet Takeover. That's right, for Cutter's, I guess, homecoming, his boo coming, whatever you want to call it. Saturday, January 11th. Join me, join Kelly, join Charlie in a suite for the Flyers Ducks game. And you're going to get food and drinks all night and help us welcome home Cutter Gauthier. Tickets available on allphly.com right now. Check out that events tab. It is going to be a really, really fun time. The suites are always great. The catering's good. I'm going to maybe have a couple of beers and have fun with everybody as we welcome back Cutter. It's going to be a ton of fun. And then in April, I told you about this during pregame, but we need to get on this. We need to fill this thing up. It is the PHLY road trip to Montreal, along with Philly Sports Trips. We are taking over Montreal April 4th to the 7th. You can go to allphly.com right now for details, see the pricing and everything. But you can get packages is starting at like $800 all the way up, depending on what kind of travel and hotel accommodations you want and all that. So it's going to be a really good time. Again, it's going to be me, Charlie, Kelly, Bryn is going to be there. It's going to be a great time in Montreal as we boo those Habs fans who for some reason hate us. I still haven't been able to quite figure out why, Steve. But
they hate us and they hate Michkov. It's really I guess they just hate themselves for not picking Michkov.
Yeah, like it's not my fault. And also, like,
get out of here.
You got a lot of really good young players.
Right. Like, they're a good young team. Like, I wish if you combine the Flyers and the Canadiens, you might have a whole team there. It'd be nice. And but by the way, folks, if you want to go on that, you need navigation through a last-minute passport. I just went through that process last summer, so I'm your expert.
I have heard those last-minute ones are you can save yourself quite a bit of money doing it yourself rather than hiring somebody, but it is a complicated process. So, yeah, make sure you have a passport. You need one of those to get into Canada.
Hire
Steve
me.
is your guy. Yeah.
Hire Steve Chico. I work on Flyers tickets or beer.
All right. Oh, who doesn't? Let us hit those super chats now. All right. Our first one is from our pal JH. Hurry up and rename the center already. I'm sick of this BS hot dog water curse. Yeah, maybe it is the Wells Fargo, because it's been all downhill since they named it the Wells Fargo Center. And I think in January, it's not going to be Wells Fargo anymore. Together, we won't be going far. It would be really cool. I'm sure it's just going to be like the IBX Center or something. It would be cool, though, if we could get, like, Snyder Plaza at IBX. Something like that would be really cool.
New Spectrum.
Yeah. Snyder Spectrum. Brought to you by Independence Blue Cross.
Oh, you know it's 100% going to just be blank center, and it's going to be IBX or something, because, hey, maybe they'll have a huge corporate rollout for it, just like Chevy today.
That annoyed the hell out of it. And, like, listen, I realize, like, this show is ad supported. I do a couple of ad reads every single night. That is the way of the world.
No judgment.
Like, their entire rink is covered in ads. Every single portion of the game is sponsored by something.
The rap 4 minutes to play.
Yeah. I wondered about that. Like, so Toyota is going to sponsor. Do they have to change their helmets for the final 4 minutes of the third every night? Like, I just wondered. It's just, just
advertising is wild.
All right, let's hit this next super chat from Gary B. Damn it, Flyers! I took you plus a goal and a half, and you still F me. Listen,
Gary, you should have run that by us first.
Yeah, the Flyers are a competitive team. They're not like actually good or anything, but they fight most nights. However, against Carolina, who is just going to pile on the possession like they did in the final 2 periods. Last time in the final period tonight. Oh man, you're really hoping against hope, even at plus a goal and a half. Like my Flyers bet tonight was on their number one defenseman's blocked shots. It was like, oh yeah, the other team, they're gonna have a ton. So we're gonna try to take advantage of that because some might hit Travis Sanheim. It wasn't all that optimistic. All right, let's get to this next super chat from Socrates Johnson. Okay, so I'm in bed before we get to this. Flyers Stanley Cup is in the basement of the Alamo.
By the way, I also have to commend you on Socrates there. Nice Bill and Ted reference there.
Well, we did this last time. Socrates here had a comment, and I did a whole thing about Bill and Ted in that scene. And I'm laying in bed later that night, and it just hits me, wait, Socrates Johnson is itself a Bill and Ted reference when they're introducing all of the historical characters to Bill's stepmom. They're like making up funny names. They're like Abraham. Finally, they're just like, and Abe Lincoln. I don't know. And he's like, this is Socrates Johnson. So I very much appreciate it. And I can't believe I did a whole Bill and Ted thing last time. And then this time, and then I was like, hours later, like, you idiot! It's your favorite movie. It's top 3. It's definitely top 3.
It's definitely one that I associate with you.
Thank you for the reference and all your support, Socrates Johnson. Let's hit this next one here from Chris Bloom. I wonder if he's related to Jeremy. Konechny Frost Michkov line would feed families, get Mish out of the Noah Cates jail. Yeah, we talked about this, like, when they first started this Michkov with role guys, I kind of liked the idea of him with Paling and Richard because Richard has some offensive upside. I thought he made some plays again tonight. And Paling, as we saw, listen, is he like the most skilled? No. But he's got speed. And Richard is real fast too. And if you have 2 guys whose job it is to go to the net and do so fast, and you add Misha's skill, like that could work. I could see that working. And that line scored 2 rush goals in their first game together. And now we're doing this Noah Cates thing. And that doesn't really appeal to me, Steve.
No, it's not appealing to me. And in a perfect world, like Noah Cates would be Sean Couturier Jr. and it would be effective in work. And it's just, it ain't working. It ain't working. We got to put Mish back with some top line talent. I don't mind the Richard part of it that much because he really can fly, but
yeah,
like, and this is also part of the problem of the Flyers just not having centers. They just don't have centers. It's horrible.
No line is the right line.
No, but you got to get him back with some talent, and you got to look. We talked about Morgan Frost in the pregame. We got some issues with Morgan Frost. We got some problems with Frosty, but you got to get talent back in the lineup, and he's one of the more talented guys that they have.
Just to see. Like, let's give him another shot with Michkov and see if those 2 can work together to create some offense for a team that doesn't create any freaking offense.
And my crops are dying. I need offense.
If you're worried about the defense, maybe throw Tyson Forster out there or something with them and hope he can recapture some of what he was last year as well. But, like, it has to be different than what it is, because what it is right now is, like, this team doesn't score unless a goalie, like Kochetkov a couple weeks ago, like, yeah, if he just has a bad night or Olmark has a bad night, they score. But other than that, they just don't generate enough.
And the thing is, like, again, we've said this many times. We'll continue to say it. This team ain't winning the cup. So give me some offense. Give me some fun. Defense is not fun. I don't care.
All right, and before we go any further, I'd like to thank our TV audience for joining us. If you want to see more of the show, check it out at allphly.com. And what's more of the show, we have a couple super chats left, another one from J8's. This super chat brought to you by Mazda. Thank you for that, JH. Very much appreciate it.
Or
Is
as they
that
say in Canada, Mazda.
Mazda, yeah.
Yeah.
And Z it's
Zed.
Mazda, yeah.
Mazda, Toronto.
All right, and that is all the super chats, which means that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers Postgame, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Steve, thank you very much for joining me, and thank everyone for joining us tonight here on PHLY Flyers Postgame.
I'm getting a win eventually, gang. I'm getting a win eventually.
I mean, they're bound to. Make sure you're following us right here on the YouTube page. Set that reminder bell so you never miss a live show. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock with our typical studio show. And then Saturday for postgame as well. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers and follow the podcast wherever you get those. Just search PHLY Flyers. All right, that's it for us. I'm Bill Matz. That's Steve Jaco. Until next time, let's go Flyers.
Welcome